Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Vande Guru Nisha Bhakta Nisham Ishavtarakan Tat Prakasham Tat Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Sangyakam Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaudaye Pushpavanatau Chitrau Sandau Tamonudau Grantera Arambha Kori Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smarana Hoy Vigana Vinashana Anayasa Safal Nija Vanchita Purana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear worshipable devotees, thank you so much for joining. We are reading Sri Caitanya-Caritāmṛta, the nectarian pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Adi-lila, chapter 2, Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we read till text number 87 last time, where we were discussing that the great souls are free from four defects: tendency to make mistakes, to be illusion, imperfect senses, and cheating propensity, etc. In short, whatever Sutta Goswami is telling, Vyasdev is telling, the great souls of Bhagavatam is telling, Caitanya-Caritāmṛta is telling, Bhagavad Gita is telling, the acharyas are telling, they are not cheaters to cheat us. In the material world, everyone wants to cheat others to get their selfish agendas. But the great souls like Narad Muni, Vyasadev, Sutta Goswami, etc., they are not cheaters. They are our true well-wishers who want to give us the true message of true bhakti, true Krishna consciousness. Therefore, they are telling us the fact of pure Krishna consciousness. So we will continue with the next verse, which is verse number 88. Yanra Bhagavata haite anyera Bhagvata aswayam bhagwan shabdera tahate sata. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Only the personality of Godhead, the source of all other divinities, is eligible to be designated as Swayam Bhagwan, or the primeval Lord. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So this word Swayam Bhagavan is used multiple times. So therefore, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining that point here. That Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam is not used for any other person, but for the source of all divinity, the source of Chandra, Indra, Varuna, Surya, etc. Not just the demigods, but even the Purushavtaras, the other incarnations. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Text 89. Yes, Vipul Prabhu, you want to read?
Srila Prabhuji, Horizon devotees, Dhamma Pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada, text 89. দ্বীপ হইতে জৈসে বহু দ্বীপের জ্বলন মূল এক দ্বীপ তাহা করিয়ে গণন. Translation: when from one candle many others are lit, I consider that one the original. The purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 46 states that the Vishnu Tattva, or the principle of the absolute personality of Godhead, is like a lamp because the expansions equal their origin in all respects. A burning lamp can light innumerable with other lamps, but although they will not be inferior, still the lamp from which the others are lit must be considered the original. Similarly, the Supreme Person of Godhead expands himself in the plenary forms of the Vishnu Tattva, and although they are equally powerful, the original powerful personality of Godhead is considered the source. This analogy also explains the appearance of qualitative incarnations like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Shambhustu Tamo Dhisthanavat Kajjalmaya Sukshma Deepa Shikha Sthana Asho Not Tatha swayam, the Shambhu Tattva, or the principal Lord Shiva is like a lamp covered with carbon because of his being in charge of the mode of ignorance. The illumination from such a lamp is very minute. Therefore, the power of Lord Shiva cannot compare to that of the Vishnu principle. So very nice verse. It always we give as an example, and it clears us how the Lord expands to different avatars, but he is a principal light or lamp or candle from which other lamps are getting uh, illuminated. But he is the source. But they are all Vishnu Datta, no basic difference, but he is a primeval source. And here is also said that about the Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva also the candle like Lord, but as Lord Shiva works with the metal energy, so that is compared here like a cardboard with carbon, the lamp, and we cannot compare Lord Shiva with the Vishnu principle because principle is totally Sattva guna, never comes with the Tamo guna. Back to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So I just want to kind of share the reference of Brahma Samhita 546, which Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport here. The meaning is the same, but we can recite this verse. Deeparachir eva hi dashantaram abhyupetya Deepayate vivrit hetu samana dharma Yastadrik eva hi vishnutaya vibhati Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The light of one candle, as we are reading here, Deepa hoite yaiche bahu deepera jwalana mula eka deepa. Mula, or the root, is eka deepa only. The light of one candle being communicated to the other candles, bahu candle. Deepa hoite yaiche bahu deepera jwalana. So one mool candle is lighting, in Deepavali or we'll sometimes light one candle and we don't, light the matchstick again and again. We use one candle to light 100 candles maybe, but there is one original candle. So that is the Supreme Lord. Although it burns separately in them, it is the same in its quality. I adore that primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. So that original candle is compared to Kṛṣṇa, and the other candles, same tattva, compared to incarnations, even the demigods, etc. So that is the point here. Let's read text number 90. Yes, Bhaswati Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Text 90. Toi se shop avatarer Krishna she karon আর এক শ্লোক শূন্য কুব্যাখ্যা খণ্ডন. Translation by His Divine Grace, Vasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna in the same way is the cause of all causes and all incarnations. Please hear another verse to defeat all misinterpretations. Back to you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, devotees are like lawyers. Prabhupada said, my devotees should be like lawyers. If someone says, why is Krishna God? Can you prove it? They say, okay, there is one verse from Bhagavad Gita which says Krishna's, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattas mritir jnanam apohanam cha. And like that, we should quote. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, well, I've given you a lot of, verses from different scriptures, but take one more. Lawyers are like that, right? Or they'll give different clauses. Clause number 5 of section article 2 of the Constitution says this. Clause 7 says this, to defend their point. The Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is also quoting multiple verses to defend his point. Let's see what the next verse he's quoting. Yes, Moksha Mataji, want to read?
Hare Krishna, all devotees. Dhanavad Pranam. Text 91 and 92. Agre sargo visharasya cha satyanam poshanam utyah manavantira sankyukatha nirodha muktir arayah dasamya vivasyade artham navanam iha lakshanam varanayanti mahatmanah su srutener neha chandjasha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Here in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 10 subjects are described: the creation of the ingredients of the cosmos, the creations of Brahma, the maintenance of the creation, special favor given to the faithful, impetuses for activity, prescribed duties for law-abiding men, a description of incarnations of the Lord, the winding up of the creation, liberation from gross and subtle material existence, and the ultimate shelter, the personality of Godhead. The 10th item is the shelter of all others. To distinguish this ultimate shelter from other 9 subjects, the Mahajanas has described these 9 directly or indirectly through the prayers or direct explanations. Purport. The verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse number 1 and 2 list the 10 subject matters dealt with in the text of Bhagavatam. Of these, the 10th is the substance, and the other 9 are categories derived from the substance. These 10 subjects are listed as follows: Sarga, the first creation by Vishnu, the bringing forth of the 5 gross material elements, the 5 objects of sense perceptions, the 10 senses, mind, intelligence, and false ego, and the total material energy or the universal form. Visarga, the secondary creation or the work of Brahma is producing and moving producing the moving and unmoving bodies of the universe. Brahmand. Sthana, the maintenance of the universe by the personality of Godhead Vishnu. Vishnu's function is more important and his glory is greater than Brahma and Lord Shiva, for although Brahma is the creator and Lord Shiva is the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. Poshan, special care and protection for devotees by the Lord, as the king maintains the kingdom and subjects nevertheless gives special attentions to the member of the family. So the personality of Godhead gives special care to his devotees who are souls completely surrendered unto him. Uti, the urge for creation or initiative power, that is the cause of all inventions, according to the necessities of time, space, and objects. Prabhuji. Manavantara. Manavantara. The periods controlled by the Manus who teach relative principles to living beings who desire to achieve perfection in human life. The rules of Manu as described in Manu Samhita guides the way to such a perfection. Ishanu Ishanu Katha. Scriptural information regarding the personality of Godhead, his incarnation on earth, and activities of his devotees. Scriptures dealing with the subjects essential for progressive human life. Point number 8.
It's
Niradhya.
a longer
The
purport.
winding up of all.
Yeah, you can read point number 8.
The winding up of all. Should I pause, Prabhuji, here?
Yeah, you can read 8 and then someone else can read.
Ji, Prabhuji. Niradhya, the winding up of all energies employed in creation, such potencies and emanations from the personality of Godhead who eternally lies in the Kṛṣṇa ocean, the cosmic creation manifested with his breath and again dissolved in the due course.
Thank you.
9. Ji Prabhuji.
Okay, someone else wants to. Raghu Prabhu, you want to complete the purport?
Yes, I can do that. Hare Krishna devotees. 9. Mukti, liberation of the conditioned souls, encaged by the gross and subtle coverings of body and mind. When freed from all material affection, the soul, giving up the gross and subtle material bodies, can attain the spiritual sky in his original spiritual body and engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord in Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka. When the soul is situated in his original constitutional position of existence, he is said to be liberated. It is possible to engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord and become Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even while in the material body. 10. Ashrya, the transcendence, the summum bonum from whom everything emanates, upon whom everything rests, and in whom everything merges after annihilation. He is the source and support of all. The ashrya is also called the Supreme Brahman, as in the Vedanta Sutra, Atato Brahma Jignasa Jnanamati Asya Yatha. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam especially describes the Supreme Brahman as the ashrya. Sri Kṛṣṇa is this ashrya, and therefore the greatest necessity of life is to study the science of Krishna. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam accepts Sri Kṛṣṇa as the shelter of all manifestations because Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate source of everything, the supreme goal of all. Two different principles are to be considered herein, namely ashrya, the object providing shelter, and ashrita, the dependents requiring shelter. The ashrita exist under the original principle, the ashrya. The first 9 categories described in the first 9 cantos of Srimad-Bhagawatam, from creation to liberation, including the Purusha avatars, the incarnations, the marginal energy or living entities, and the external energy or material world are all ashrita. The prayers of Srimad-Bhagawatam, however, aim for the ashrya tattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The great souls expert in describing Srimad-Bhagawatam have very diligently delineated the other 9 categories, sometimes by different narrations or sometimes by indirect narrations such as stories. The real purpose of doing this is to know perfectly the absolute transcendence Sri Krishna for the entire creation, both material and spiritual, rests on the body of Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, back to you, Prabhu, please explain. Quite a lot here.
Hare Krishna. This is an important verse to remember. The 10 subjects of Bhagavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam covers 10 subjects. And I'm going to share something which I prepared for some point. 10 topics. Let's see if I can find that thing out. Yes, Krishna is merciful. And I was able to find it. And I'm going to share that with everyone. Okay, you can see it, right? So these are the 10 topics The column B shows the 10 topics. That's an easy way to understand that is Atra means this, Atra, here. Sarga, primary creation of the 24 elements. With the 24 elements. Sarga, Visarga, secondary creation by Lord Brahma. Then Sthanam, the maintenance of the universe. The different Sthana means place. So in Canto 5, we talk about the different planetary positions, and the second half of Canto 5, we discuss how many different 14 planetary systems are there, etc. So Canto 1 and 2 are like the foundation, major pastimes here. Mata Kunti, Bhishmadev, Parikshit Maharaj getting cursed. Then cosmic manifestation and questions by King Parikshit. So Canto 3rd talks about the Sarga, creation by the Lord through the primary elements. And Kapil Muni's instruction is also there. Canto 4 is secondary creation by Brahma. It talks about Daksha's sacrifice, where Shivji went. Dhruv Maharaj's story is also there, in Prithu Maharaj. And then the navel comes. So what part of the body they represents, it is also mentioned so nicely here. So we go from Canto 1 to slowly up. So lotus feet are represented by Canto 1 and 2. The thighs by Canto 3 and 4. The navel, Sthanam. Poshanam. Poshan means nurturing or nourishment, poshan, right? So that's Canto 6. Vritrasura's story, Chitraketu's story, Ajamil, how the Lord nurtured and nourished Ajamil, even though the glories of holy name are shared in this chanting, unknowingly Narayana got so much benefit. Uti, the urge of creation, good creation, bad creation. The Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj, right? Two classic examples. The classic story in Canto 7 is of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj talks about the ideal family life. That also we have covered. Now we are at Manvantara. Manu Antara becomes Manvantara. The time period controlled by Manus. So there are 7. How many Manus are there? 14 Manvantaras. Correct? 71 Chaturyugas. 71 cycles of Chaturyugas. Yeah. The 71 times 14 plus the transition comes 1000 Chaturyugas in one day of Brahma. 14 Manvantaras are there. We have discussed that also previously. Correct? You all remember that? Gajendra's story, churning of the milk ocean, Vamandev and Bali Maharaj. These are the main pastimes here. And then Ishanukatha, description of the Lord's incarnations compared to Throat, description of the Sun and the Moon dynasty. So there's mention of Lord Ram also in the dynasties. Then there is a Manvantar Ishanukatha, Nirodha Muktir Ashraya. In the shloka there is Nirodha Muktir Ashraya. So there is a little bit kind of transition because Canto 10 is the Saman Bonam. It talks about the lotus feet of the lotus face of the Lord. That is the beautiful pastimes of Kṛṣṇa in Mathura, Vrindavan, Dwarka, Gokula, Hastinapur. It's all the beautiful pastimes. Mukti, liberation of the conditioned souls, is like the forehead. Uddhav Gita is there in Canto 11. And Nirodha is dissolution, the 4 kinds of annihilation, and the activities of Markandeya. So this is a kind of a quick, high-level, review of Bhagavatam, which I made, like compiled different shlokas and different devotees after hearing different devotees' classes. So I thought this would be helpful at this point. Is it helpful? Does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
So the first 9 comes under then ashrita, which
Ashrya.
is depend on the ashrya, which is the 10th one. Correct?
Mm-hmm. The whole goal of 9 is to bring us to 10. The 9 elements.
Because in the purport is saying that to two different principles are considered here, namely ashrya, the object providing shelter, and ashrita, the dependence requiring shelter. So the first 9 is the depend on the 10th, which is ashrya. Correct?
Correct. First 9 here are referred to the 9 elements or the 9 these topics. Atra sarga visargascha. And there's also mentioned that it's not that these cantos, the other cantos don't talk about the other topic. It's not that Canto 4 only talks about, for example, like Gajendra's story. We discuss about ashrya and ashrita over there as well, right? How the Supreme Lord protects his devotee, how the Supreme Lord is doing portion of Gajendra. So there is portion discussion in the Gajendra story as well. Gajendra comes in the 6th canto, sorry, the 8th canto of Manvantara. But exclusively, if we say that more discussion is about a particular topic, but it's not that other topics are not covered. One devotee also said that pretty much every canto covers all the 10 topics. And certainly we can say after reading Prabhupada's purports, every canto, every shloka, there is discussion about Krishna and Bhakti, ashrya and ashrita. But yes, mutually, as far as the topics are concerned, and we will see 10th canto is the Prabhupada wrote detailed purports, wonderful purports, and Sutta Goswami, Shukadev Goswami gave wonderful, it's the biggest canto, 4 volumes are there in our Bhaktivedanta books. So that is the supreme ashrya. Yes, that is the real purpose, to know the absolute transcendence, Sri Krishna. That is the goal of all these. The goal is to understand Krishna properly. And then someone will say, then why don't we jump to the 10th canto? Why don't we jump to the pastimes of the Supreme Lord? First, we need to understand who is Bhagawan. He is the one who created all these Brahma, Indra, Chandra, all these Sthanam, all these pastimes, the secondary candles. The incarnations of the Lord are so powerful. So therefore, we understand the pastimes in the 10th canto in proper way. We need to properly understand who we are talking about. Otherwise, we will take those pastimes very cheaply. And we will not be able to take ashrya. Any other comments, additions, anyone? I'll share this in the group, so if someone wants to refer later, they can do that as well. Okay. Well, it's time for going into the Bhagavatam, which we are already in one way. So, nice verse to remember. Atra sarga visargascha Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanam utaya manvantara ishanu katha manvantara nirodha muktir ashraya manvantara ishanu katha. These are the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's read now Srimad Bhagavatam.